Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next session in the SciTech Digital Summit. I'm very excited to share that this session, which is titled Israel's MDMA-Assisted Psychedelic Therapy Trial for PTSD with Keren Tzarfaty. I'm going to introduce her in just a moment. Anyone who was here yesterday and heard Rick Dovlin's presentation heard him reference the trial that's happening in Israel and mention Keren Tzarfaty specifically, and you'll see why in just a minute as I introduce her. So Keren Tzarfaty, Ph.D., is the co-founder of the Hakomi Institute of Israel, a trainer for MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies in Israel. She is a clinical investigator in the MDMA PTSD FDA, that's a lot of letters, approved clinical trial, examining the impact of MDMA-assisted psychotherapy on severe PTSD patients. So Keren, thank you for being with us. I was just saying before we got on that she was also presented at our first SciTech meetup in Tel Aviv, and we're really honored to have you back again to really share more about the work that's happening here in Israel.
Thank you, Tali. It's very nice to be here. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And it's very exciting to be in this field and in this event together. So I will tell you today about the story of the MDMA-assisted psychotherapy trial in Israel. And maybe we'll start from that I'm coming from Hakomi, from mindfulness-based psychodynamic psychotherapy into psychedelic psychotherapy and integrating both in their trials and in the work I do here in Israel. And it's very exciting for me to kind of say that I'm part of a movement that brings psychedelic psychotherapy into the Middle East. And I think it's very much needed here. So I'm very excited and passionate about it and feel very blessed to have this right to do that. Yeah. So what I'm going to tell you today is about the study we do here in Israel in the last 10 or so years and about our future plans. There is a lot of exciting things happening, but I want to start from the basic and to remind all of us about what the essence of psychedelic experience is. And to remember together that we are talking about a temporary experience of a major change in our cognitive way of being, in our emotional sense or felt sense, in our body experience, somatic experience, in the way we perceive ourselves, the others, and the whole universe, really. And it's a very powerful experience to have. It's temporary. It has a beginning and a middle and an end. And the questions I want to put here today, the main question I want to put here today is what is the connection, the mysterious connection between this experience that is both cognitive and emotional and physical and even spiritual, right? To transformation of psychiatric and psychological disorders. So this is what we kind of will swim with together in the next 30 minutes or so. In the field of psychedelic, and you probably heard a lot about that in those 2 days, there is a lot of research about safety of the experience I just described with different kind of substance, research of neuroscience, what happens in the brain, the nervous systems, and research about the connection of psychedelic psychotherapy. So it's not only the psychedelic experience, but it's the integration of the psychedelic experience with psychotherapy to the transformation of human suffering, right? That's really what we're doing here. And this is what I'm excited about, or I'm passionate about. And this is also my specialty, the connection of the psychedelic experience with psychotherapy to transformation of human suffering. How do we help with depression, PTSD, anxiety, addictions, and so on? All those, what we call in psychiatry and psychology, disorders that really makes humans' life miserable, yeah? And specifically, I will present you the MDMA-assisted psychotherapy trial that is mentioned in the title, and what we do there, what the results are, and how it actually influences what happens in the psychedelic research field and treatment in Israel. But I want to start from talking about trauma, because when we talk about psychedelic and suffering, I think trauma is one of the main causes of suffering to us human beings. And when we talk about trauma, we talk about traumatic event. something that was very scary, life-threatening, that created in us a very natural and healthy response, which is either to fight or to fly, to run away, or to freeze. And all those responses are very, very, very important when there is a traumatic event happening. This is a very useful, intelligent way of our system to handle this situation. The problem starts when the event is over, so safety is back again, but the system is stuck in this response, which is healthy and normal and intelligence, but not anymore. The event is over, so we don't need anymore those intelligent response. But what happened with traumatic wounds or disorders or PTSD is that people are stuck. The human system is stuck in this response of fighting or running away and mostly being frozen because the experience is still an experience of dangers, although the original event, the real unsafety is over and done. And then we meet the suffering. Because when the system is stuck there is anxiety and depression and hard to sleep at night, nightmares, flashbacks during the day, lots of different physical symptoms, somatic symptoms. So really life of people with PTSD, which is a severe trauma, are really hell, like hell. It's 24/7 of intense symptoms. And what we know today to do as therapy or as medication is to help and decrease the symptoms. So there is medication for anxiety, medication for the sleep, and medication for the emotional different things, yeah? But there is no medication or no good therapy for the actual source of those symptoms. And there are good therapists and there are good methods of therapy, trauma-based, like Hakomi or SE or PE, of course, of Edna Foa. And those are great to many cases, but some cases it's not so helpful. And we want to see in our studies how to help to those people that could not get help in those other places and are just had enough of taking all those medications just for the symptoms. What we are looking to do with the MDMA assisted psychotherapy, we're looking to find safe, right? Safety, efficacy, and also long-term effect and non-chronic use of the treatment. So today, when a person takes the medication for the symptoms, he or she has to continue taking them all the time. And if they stop taking the medication, guess what? The symptoms goes up again. The anxiety, the depression, again, not sleeping at night. Yeah. So they stay dependent. They stay dependent with all those medications or combinations of medication and therapy. And what we want to do with the MDMA-assisted psychotherapy trial, we want to find something that is working with transformation of the original trauma, wound, original disorder that creates all the symptoms. Okay, that's our goal and intention. MDMA was invented in a lab in a pharmaceutical company, Merck, at 1912, and in 1985 it became illegal. It became a controlled substance in the 90s in Israel. And until then, it was actually used in psychotherapy, especially in the West Coast, in a legal way. Social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists used it in therapy. The integration of MDMA in therapy was common, relatively common. And the pharmacological profile, what happens in the brain or in the human system, is pretty complex. But I just will put here that it creates more of serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, which is the love hormone. And what it creates really is an experience of feeling safe, feeling connected, feeling present, love, empathy. Exactly, all those characteristics are exactly the opposite of the experience of PTSD. Remember, depression and physical pain and emotional pain and anxiety. So when a person in our research, in our study, takes MDMA, with all this dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and in therapy, usually the experience, at least at the beginning, is kind of the remedy of the PTSD experience. An experience of connection, of togetherness, of caring, of love, of being present. So those are clues to the rest of the lecture of what is the connection of psychedelic experience, in this case MDMA, and the well-being experience it creates to a psychological or psychiatrist wound disorder that is very painful and very difficult in all those levels I mentioned, of body level, emotional level, cognitive level, spiritual level. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the research and how it looks like. In Israel, we started the research 12 years ago or so in Ber Yaakov, which is a governmental hospital. And we saw a total of 10 clients, 10 participants. And those participants it's a double-blind controlled, placebo-controlled study. So half of the people got placebo. We had 102 participants all over the world, and 10 of them are in Israel. And the study is very much offers, I would say, a powerful integration of the MDMA with psychotherapy, and not only with any kind of psychotherapy, but with integrative psychotherapy, meaning body, mind, spirit-oriented psychotherapy. So the protocol offers integration or exploration of the inner experience of the person, the inner somatic body experience, of course, the emotional dimension, the cognitive dimension, sometimes some mystical experiences, spiritual dimensions. So we're not only talking about things in the therapy, but we invite the person to go in and to experience their inner experience in the moment, being mindful in the moment, and notice what happens as they getting the MDMA, and slowly also working with the traumatic wound integrated with the MDMA. So this beautiful experience, powerful experience of well-being is serving like a container for the person to go in with the help of two therapists in the room, a man and a woman. That's part of the protocol. And with the skillful means that the psychotherapists bring to help the person process the trauma while they're being held both by the psychotherapy process and the psychotherapist in the room, and by the MDMA qualities that are getting into the system. So the MDMA is offering us with the psychotherapy a beautiful and powerful container to process the trauma. We invite the processing of the trauma while the person is under the influence of the MDMA. What's important to know is that we had in phase 2 total of 12 meetings, 3 meetings of preparation, preparing the person for the MDMA, but also getting connected to us, the psychotherapists, getting to know the process, bringing the story, getting to know some basic skills of listening to the inner experience. And then after 3 preparatory sessions, we move to the MDMA session. And in the MDMA session, the person is coming in the morning and they dive into the experience, 8 hours of being together with the psychotherapist and really studying and exploring the inner experience under the influence of the MDMA or the placebo. And then after the session is over, they stayed in the hospital and slept in the hospital. So we wanted to make sure they're safe. And 3 other integrative sessions after the MDMA, usually a weekly sessions. And after 3 more sessions, so total of 7 with the MDMA, we go to the 8th sessions with MDMA again. And then after this MDMA session, again, they sleep in the hospital, and we have 3 more of integrative sessions. So we have total of 12 psychotherapy sessions. Only 2 of them are with MDMA. So you can get the sense of how much the MDMA experience, the psychedelic experience, is being held by the psychotherapeutic process before and after both sessions. In phase 3, we have 3 sessions of MDMA. And maybe also to say, you heard that a lot the term set, the mindset, the intention we come to the sessions and to the whole psychotherapeutic process and the setting. The room is beautiful. The approach of the therapy is a non-hospitalized approach, although we are in a hospital, but we created a beautiful, homey, soothing, nourishing room. And that's also the qualities of the psychotherapy itself. It's a humanistic-based psychotherapy. So at the end of those 12 meetings, we, of course, measured the different symptoms, and we looked at the PTSD symptoms, depression, the sleep quality, the level of functioning, and we found very good results right after the therapy. The 12 sessions were over, and actually 54% of the people, the participants that got MDMA were not considered to be or to suffer from PTSD when the treatment was over. 54%. And not only that, 12 years after the therapy was over, in the follow-up, 68% of the people that got MDMA were not considered to have PTSD anymore. So we saw an increase in the number of people that are not suffering from PTSD anymore. And those are remarkable results, 68% of all those people in all the research, all the study all over the world, yeah? And that's why the FDA declared this study as a breakthrough study. Yeah, we got very good results in all those levels. Depression got much better, the sleep got much better, the functioning got much better, and of course, all those symptoms I talked about that are connected to the PTSD itself. Yeah. So what I want to put here is just to, if I could choose one thing for you to take from here, is to take the powerful integration of those three things: the MDMA, the psychotherapy, and not only psychotherapy, but the experiential characteristics or qualities of the psychotherapy. Yeah? So all of these creates the accurate set and setting that invites this kind of protocol to have pretty profound potential for transforming PTSD. Let's see what else I want to tell you. Let's go to what happened because of this study in Israel. So the FDA declared the study as a breakthrough therapy, and the Ministry of Health in Israel heard about it, and we've been in contact with them here in Israel. And of course, they were very curious about it. As you know, the Middle East in general, and specifically Israel, we have a lot of PTSD. And we kind of got connected to the Ministry of Health, and we thought, how can we bring this work to Israel and help those people in suffering in Israel? And out of this dialogue, we met a very open approach, but very serious and professional approach of the Ministry of Health, and we created a collaborative project together, which MAPS and the Ministry of Health in Israel, which is open access project. So we're going to offer this treatment for 50 more people, not in a study, not in a trial context, but in a treatment context. And we actually in the process, we're in the midst of opening 5 different MDMA-assisted psychotherapy centers in 5 different hospitals in Israel, from the north to the south. And we're going to treat 50 people, 10 in each center. And for that, we're training 30 therapists from inside the system of Israel, so they can offer the work I described to those 50 people that are in need. And we also want them to be trained well and to experience MDMA psychotherapy. So we are in the process of opening a new trial that is for healthy volunteers, our psychotherapists that are going to take part in the open access project and to treat the 50 people. And we're going to have them experience MDMA psychotherapy before they're actually offering the treatment to the patient. Something very interesting and very, very unique. I think it's the only state in the world that is actually funding psychedelic treatment. So 50% of the open access project, that is $500,000, is being funded by the government. And they also the government funded the training, part of the training for the therapists, which we did in Neve Shalom, which is a Jewish Arab village. There was also something about that we're part of a place that is thinking out of the box and thinking of ways of reduce suffering in many different levels. We have another trial starting hopefully soon. We're in the process of getting approval for PE, prolonged exposure with MDMA. So Edna Foa, who is a very important figure in the field of trauma, is doing a research with us, combining her protocol of working with trauma with our protocol, and I'm very curious personally to see what will be the result there. And we also got the first approval for psilocybin-based psychotherapy for treatment-resistant depression in Israel, and we're in the very final stages of starting to actually doing the research. So we have lots of psychedelic activity in Israel, and I'm very excited about that, and I will definitely keep you updated about the results. We're also in the middle of phase 3 in Israel of the MDMA-assisted psychotherapy trial, and very optimistic.
Keren, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I just want you to know that while you're talking, there's a chat going. And one of the things that was said actually by Deborah Kay, who I know you know, our event director here, is that you are an absolute national treasure. And you really are. It is really so exciting to hear about the work that you're doing and how it's continuing to grow in such exciting ways. We'd like to ask some questions just before we wrap up here. Some questions from the audience, and I'd also like to start with one that helps us bring it down to how this manifests in a person's life, in the life of a single human. I'm sure you've seen so many powerful experiences, more than you can count. And without getting any specifics, without any names, is there any particular powerful experience that you can share with us, something that you've seen that you feel really demonstrates the power that this kind of therapy can offer somebody who's suffering from PTSD?
I won't go into one specific person, but I would say that I see my clients in their study moving from living in a deep survival mode of sleep for 30 minutes, or just trying to be to go to buy something in the supermarket. So they have some kind of food in the fridge, and then 2 years later, I'm getting a phone call or a message saying, I wanted to know, I'm working for a year now in a school, and I have a partner, and we're thinking about getting married, and I'm going to have my master's degree in this and that, and there's something about getting those messages, and but it's profound because I remember them coming in such a deep suffering. It's almost like they live in a living nightmare, and not hearing those messages, feeling the blossoming of them, and so that's most of the experience. If you're interested, I can tell everybody, you can see part of the research, the study, in a movie named Truth of Compassion. You can find it online, and you can see us working with 3 different participants, and you can see how they come into the research and how it's a beautiful movie.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, maybe we could post Trips of Compassion in the chat so people can see it. And I can imagine that, when you hear from people and hear the enduring kind of changes that happens in their lives for the rest of their life, how powerful that must be. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. A question I wanted to ask, this is from Robin. Robin's out there, and she's been active on the chat. A shout out to Robin Ellie, who is a beloved doctor on a medical advisory board as well, along with Dr. Mark Bronstein. And she asks, outside of therapy, MDMA used as a rave, love, and connection drug, there's often seen a post-use depression. I'm curious to know if depressive episodes have been seen in the therapeutic setting.
Mm-hmm. We didn't see that. We were actually looking for that. There is definitely a week that is very intense, and there are some difficult emotions. But for us, it's very good from a psychotherapy perspective. It's grief, it's sadness, it's pain, and we want that to come up and to be processed. Yeah, don't experience it as stuck, low depression, but just as live emotions that would like to be processed. And we don't hear about this kind of empty after MDMA kind of experience. We didn't see that. I didn't see that.
And do you attribute that to set and setting, or there's something specific that you attribute that to? Or you just see it as part of the process?
I think both set and setting, both lots of preparation for whatever will show up to just give it space, even if it's difficult. And also, they come after a good night's sleep, pretty much. They stay to sleep. Usually, I think many times there is a connection between being in a party for 24 hours, not sleeping, not eating well, and so on. And then there is just a difficult experience after. We try not to do that at all.
Okay. Another question we have here is, what kind of education or skill set are you seeking to add to your research team?
I think that's one of the challenges of expanding with this work and bringing it more into the mainstream in Israel. We're looking for psychotherapists that are coming from humanistic approach, so they know how to work with the person not from a pathological point of view, and not looking for the difficulties, but to see the person as a whole, and with the resources and the beauty and the difficulties and the wounds. And we need them to have an experiential psychotherapy background, so they know how to work with mindfulness and the body. They know how to bring the felt sense, the inner experience, as part of the psychotherapeutic exploration. And that's hard for us to find. It's hard for us to find, and we're actually opening the first in Israel, the psychedelic therapy training next year. And our students will be people that are coming from the system with master degree, PhDs. They know psychology very well, and we want to give them the rest, the experiential part, and of course the psychedelic part.
And do you find that therapists that you think would be a good match resist that component of needing to experience themselves? Do you find that becomes an obstacle to helping train more therapists?
Not at all. People are curious and very open.
So I know one of the things that Rick was talking about yesterday was sort of the issue around scalability, and part of that is just having enough therapists to really offer these sessions. Do you see that to be a challenge as well, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. First, maybe it's a good time to say thank you to Rick, which really everything I just presented is because of his dream, vision, and an amazing manifestation abilities. So that's good to name. He's a real force in this world. And it's a challenge to find the right therapist or to train them. So it's a process, and many resources are actually going there from my point of view at this point. And we want the therapy. We want the therapist to be trained well, both in experiential psychotherapy and psychedelic psychotherapy, and we want the integration. And also to say that the psychedelic psychotherapists needs to know those dimensions in themselves. They need to know how to connect to their own experience, to their own heart, to their own mystical experiences, because all of this, the heart, the spiritual, they're part of what the client is going through. So we need to know those realms inside of ourselves as psychotherapists. And that's quite an invitation.
It is, and it's an invitation for transformation on all parties.
Totally.
You know, usually you just look at the patient, but if you're looking at both sides of it, then it's a transformation at a much bigger level. Keren, thank you for bringing your heart to what you're doing, and to just echo what you said, to really thank Rick, who is just a trailblazer and a pioneer, and who's been at it and enduring for so many years. And all this work is possible because of all the work that he's done and the work that's been done at MAPS. So thank you for your participation in that and for your participation in this summit.
You're welcome. And just maybe just thank you to the team in MAPS. So it's Rick for sure, but Annie and Michael and Amy and Vera and Rebecca. There is such an amazing team creating all of that, really.
Yeah. So thank you to you. Thank you to MAPS. And continue. We're excited to invite you to continue on to the next session with us together. Have a good day.